Well guys, they had us in the first half. It turns out the Gholdengo in this episode is not the Gimmighoul that stowed away on the Brave Olivine in episode 102 evolved, which is what most of us believed, judging by the preview for episode 105. Instead, it's a wild Pokemon that just so happens to be popular on the beach where this episode takes place. However, its presence still serves a narrative function related to Gimmighoul. It wants to be a Gholdengo someday. This is why it's gathering coins so fervently. Getting to see its evolved form up close reminds it of that dream, makes it yearn for it even more, and allows its soon-to-be trainer to understand it and its quest to gather coins far better. This sets the stage for its capture in this episode and its eventual evolution in a future one. So it's not what we expected, but honestly, the episode is far better for it. We still get to see such a fun and cool Pokemon animated, and its appearance is still meaningful without sacrificing the narrative and character value of having Gimmighoul be caught as is, then evolve later on after getting the chance to shine, grow, and develop alongside its trainer and fellow Pokemon. At that point, its evolution will feel much more earned, deserved, impactful, emotional, and powerful, instead of feeling premature, rushed, lackluster, and wasteful. Now, speaking of Gimmighoul being captured and its trainer, this is the one thing we were right about. Someone did catch Gimmighoul like we all expected, however, it wasn't who most of us wanted. Most of us thought it would, and wanted it to, be Roy. These two polls I posted illustrate this perfectly, especially the first one, posted right after episode 102. By the time of the second poll, posted right before episode 105, the tide had shifted. Roy was still ahead, but not by as much, because the preview for this episode made it clear that Dot would end up catching Gimmighoul. I said as much in my preview discussion. So was I surprised? No. Was I disappointed? Kind of. And not just because Dot caught it instead of Roy. The way it's justified feels a little forced. Dot wonders in this episode, why is it always me? As if Gimmighoul only ever targeted her. But this isn't really true. In episode 103, Gimmighoul had a ton of people gather coins and Dot wasn't among them. In episode 102, Gimmighoul had Dot gather coins, yes, but not just her. Roy, Uruto, their Pokemon, and even Cap were all involved. All the way back in episode 57, two Gimmighoul, a roaming form and a chest form showed up. They may have been one and the same, but it's never made clear. What is clear is that Roy interacted with both. He is the one who found the roaming form. He even tried to catch it. And he gathered a bunch of coins for the chest form, who might very well be the same one that appeared in episode 102 and ultimately ended up being caught by Dot. So by all accounts, if we consider every previous episode where Gimmighoul appeared, Roy deserved to catch it far more than Dot. Having her catch it and trying to justify this by having her claim something that is not true feels forced and contrived, like Roy was meant to catch Gimmighoul and everything was set to lead to this, but then the writers had a change of heart and it was far too late to change history, so they had to somehow force something that was never meant to happen. Heck, Dot saying why is it always me mirrors what Roy said in episode 102, that he wasn't going to be tricked by Gimmighoul again. So it's honestly disappointing and difficult to accept that Dot captured the Gimmighoul. Now, all that being said, at least episode 105 did a wonderful job of making this easier to swallow, since Dot actually was Gimmighoul's only target throughout. It constantly made her gather coins even when she desperately tried to stop this from happening, and her frustration every time she realized she was tricked made their interactions hilarious. Moreover, having Dot and the Gimmighoul surf together, with her even saving it when it falls into the water, is a fantastic way to have them bond in a short time. Not to mention how fitting it is, given that Gimmighoul is destined to be a surfer someday. Moreover, even if the story so far didn't favor Dot as much as Roy when it comes to who deserved to catch Gimmighoul, the same cannot be said about the state of the main characters and their Pokemon. Liko captured the Charcadet just 3 episodes ago and already has the most Pokemon. Roy showed up post-time skip with his Lucario and had more Pokemon than Dot before episode 105. And even Uruto, who is a fairly new character, had the same number of Pokemon as her if we count the one inside his Dusk Ball, who will seemingly be revealed in the next episode. He didn't need to have his team expanded yet. Certainly not before Dot, who has been around longer and hadn't added to her team since episode 39, and especially not when his mysterious Pokemon is likely about to debut in the next episode. Basically, going into this episode, Dot had to be the next one to catch something, and that might explain why it feels forced. The writers realized she was being left behind. This does make it easier to accept that she got Gimmighoul, because on this front, she really did deserve it. Finally, before moving on, I love that this time, Orla and Molly do get to enjoy the beach, unlike last time. Now, while Dot catching Gimmighoul is the most important and significant part of this episode, it's not the only thing that happens. The first half focuses on Amethio, who finds himself out at sea during a storm and is saved by none other than Mighty G. The two of them take refuge in a cavern, and what follows is about as filler as it gets. Nothing here contributes to the story, nothing connects to the other half of the episode, and nothing is set up for the future. In all honesty, this feels like a waste of time, especially considering that the other half of the episode features a main character catching a Pokemon, something that deserves a full episode's worth of focus. Splitting the time lessens the impact of Dot's capture, which is frustrating because this moment could have been much more meaningful and felt more earned and deserved if it had been given the space it needed. That being said, I can at least appreciate what this segment does for Amethio as a character. First, we learn that he can't do basic things like cooking, which makes you wonder how he survived on an island for an entire year, and explains why Coral calls him a pampered rich boy. Second, we see that something as simple as sharing a meal, something tied to family, friendship, and warmth, is completely foreign to him, considering that he lost his mother at a young age, has been estranged from his father for years, and only received affection from his grandfather at the very end of his life. This makes perfect sense. Watching him find comfort in something so ordinary is both touching and humanizing. Moreover, this part of the episode is hilarious, mostly because every time Amethio tries to say Mr. Mighty G, this happens.
Mr. Mighty G! Mr. Mighty G! Mr. Mighty G!
This running gag never failed to make me laugh. Finally, this part of the episode also makes it clear that, unfortunately, time is almost up for Mighty G. So yeah, overall, this episode was alright. Dot catching Gimmighoul is the highlight for sure, and while I have my misgivings about how it was handled, the execution was just strong enough to make it acceptable. The comedy of her constant frustration, the bond formed while surfing, and even the irony of her believing she won't be tricked anymore, only for Gimmighoul to immediately prove her wrong, all made for a fun and fitting capture episode. The Amethio half, on the other hand, was much weaker. Yes, seeing him get caught off every time he tries to say Mr. Mighty G is hilarious, and yes, watching him struggle with basic survival skills and enjoy sharing a meal with someone do give us a few heartwarming and meaningful insights into his character. But ultimately, this still feels like filler. Time that could have been used to make Dot's capture feel more earned and impactful. So this episode is uneven. One half mostly meaningful and entertaining, the other half amusing but unnecessary. It's certainly not the strongest episode, but it's definitely still enjoyable and not terrible at the very least. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, feel free to click the links on screen. And if you'd like to support the channel and help me keep making content like this, you can find all the ways to do so in the description and in the pinned comment. Whether it's through a small donation or just watching and sharing, every bit of support means the world to me. Thank you so very much for watching, and let's meet again in the next video.